You see, guys, in school, they never wanted you to be rich. In fact, they want to really waste your time. Sure, they tell you to go out, get good grades, get a good education so you can get a good job. Maybe you can retire by 65 years old. But the simple fact of the matter is that most of the classes that I took in school were a big waste of time. In fact, I got more value out of many of the electives than I did out of many of the core classes, at least in terms of the skills and things that I can actually see on a day-to-day basis that make me money, right? But one of the biggest lies that we were told in school is you want to go out there, you want to get a good job, retire by the time you're 65 years old and whatnot. But simple fact of the matter is this: they also taught us. They also it depends upon what class you went to, what school you went to. Many of them told us, "Hey, you want to make sure you have good credit, because credit is the key to wealth building," or at least that's what they wanted us to believe. Now, I'm going to talk about credit a little bit, but the Federal Reserve has raised the interest rates yet again, and they will continue to raise interest rates for the foreseeable future. Now, the question is, how is that going to affect you? Now, if you're like the average person, if you're like the average American is actually up to their eyeballs in debt. And that is credit card debt, that's car payments, multiple car payments. Maybe you have a boat payment. I've actually met some women who actually have like uh, payments on some of the items in their wardrobe. It is just unbelievable because some of the store cards were the only way that they could afford some of these very, very expensive handbags. Uh, yeah, so basically they put a purse on a credit card. It's not really a purse payment, but it kind of is if the purse is the only thing that's on that credit card. So, but I digress. The problem here in America is that too many people are trying to keep up with the Joneses. They're trying to look rich and wealthy here in America, but um, they were not taught the rules of credit. They were lied. They were lied to. We were lied to. Most people look at their credit score and they associate a high or a low credit score with wealth. And the simple fact of the matter is that your credit score has nothing to do with wealth. But the thing is your credit allows you to borrow money. And if you look at what the Federal Reserve has been doing, they've been raising interest rates. The Federal Reserve's interest rates affect the short-term interest rates. It affects the amount. It affects the cost associated with how much banks are being charged to one another, or how much banks charge, or how much banks charge other banks when they lend money to each other. And this ultimately affects the 10-year Treasury note, and the 10-year Treasury note ultimately affects mortgage rates. Now, the Federal Reserve raising interest rates doesn't directly impact. It doesn't. When the Federal Reserve raises an interest rate, it doesn't make the mortgage payments go higher. It doesn't make the mortgage rates go higher. But what the Fed does is it strongly influences the direction that these mortgage rates end up going, right? So right now, the federal funds rate is sitting at, I want to say, somewhere between 5.25, maybe 5.5% right now, the federal funds rate. And they have raised interest rates roughly almost every single meeting except for the recent June meeting here in 2023. But they've been raising interest rates every single meeting ever since like March of 2022 is when they first started. So why does this matter? Well, this matters because for many Americans who are up to their eyeballs in debt, specifically variable interest debt, their payments are about to go up. And why? Well, unfortunately, as your credit card balance remains outstanding and unpaid, you are subject to whatever the LIBOR interest rate is, or whatever interest rate your credit card company happens to follow. But know this: when the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, your credit card interest rate will go up, and any other kind of variable interest rate you might have. You may have an adjustable rate mortgage on your house. If you do, that rate's going to go up, and so will your mortgage payment. If you have an adjustable rate on your home equity line of credit, please know that your payment associated with that, and the interest rate will go up. And the problem is that most Americans use credit to show off. They don't use credit to build wealth. And so this is one of the reasons why it's so dangerous. And most people are taught to, and I won't say that they're taught, but it kind of are taught. You're trained through society, through the media, through social media, Instagram, Facebook. In society, most people want to put on this front that you're doing well, that you're successful. And most people equate success with a fancy car, a fancy house, fancy vacations, expensive clothing, jewelry, handbags, red bottom shoes, you name it, right? And whether or not they're financially capable of affording these things without financially harming themselves is almost irrelevant to most Americans. And so what they do is they leverage their good credit to ultimately buy things that they can't afford to impress people that they don't necessarily like. And what this does is it ultimately makes you a slave to your debt. You're a slave to your vehicles, to your jewelry, to your handbags, or any other thing that you happen to own. Well, technically, it owns you, or anything that you happen to have that you're paying debt on, you're making payments on. Now, if people were properly advised, they would have learned some of the 5 personal finance habits of millionaires that I'm going to share with you guys in this video that would have totally changed the trajectory of their financial being, of their financial life, right? So, yeah. I'll tell you what though, one of the first things that you want to do is not waste your good credit, available credit on buying things that go down in value. That is probably one of the worst things that you can do. But I would say that first and foremost, if you don't follow anything else in this video, if you only do this one thing, you have no choice but to become wealthier over time. Will you become a millionaire? Possibly. Depends on how far you take this strategy. But the very first thing that I would tell anyone is spend significantly less than you earn. All right? So the very first thing you want to do is make sure you always spend significantly less money than you earn. No matter how much money you earn, you can always outspend that. Picture filling up a bucket, right? You can always pour out the bucket faster than you can fill it up. No matter how much water is flowing into the bucket, you can always empty it faster than you can fill it, right? And so a water faucet would be like your income from your job, and the bucket would be like your bank account, and you can totally empty out your bank account faster than you can ever fill it. So if you always if you always put yourself in a situation where you spend significantly less than your income, then you're left with a surplus, and what you do with that surplus can really change the trajectory of your life. So if you want to build wealth fast, you need to spend significantly less than you're earning, right? And you would think that this would be, pretty common sense rule, but unfortunately it's not. It's kind of like most people know how to lose weight, but if you happen to find yourself in a situation where you're overweight, chances are you know how to become, how to lose weight, but actually executing on that is usually harder than the science behind the weight loss, right? Eat less, exercise more. Really, pretty much that's all you got to do, right? Most Americans, they spend a lot more than they earn, which is why there's so much consumer debt here in America. And this is why the Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes are so damaging to Americans. And, if you could just ingrain like one habit at a young age, you will absolutely be on track to reaching financial freedom. And the next thing I would definitely consider, or I would definitely put on the list, is to invest now, invest early, invest as much as you can. And sacrificing earlier in your life will make so much more of an impact later in your life, right? Because why? Well, the power of compound interest. So the more you can front load your investments, index funds, ETFs, investments in real estate, short-term rentals, leveraging platforms like Airbnb or VRBO, this is how you build wealth. And the sooner you do it, the sooner you can get the compound effect, the magic of compounding working to your favor. um, yeah, the earlier you start investing, the more time your money has to grow. And this is why investing at a young age is just so important, right? So even if you only have an extra $20 a week, most people are blowing $20 a week, if not $20 a day on something. But you're making somebody else wealthy. You're not making yourself wealthy. So even if you only have an extra $20 a week to invest, you need to do it. Those small amounts of money, that most people don't even, they feel like it's so insignificant, they can turn into huge amounts of something. In fact, something very big in the next 10, 20, 15, 20, in the next 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years, right? And that would be passive income for you, right? And I like to leverage easy investment opportunities through my favorite investment platforms, M1 Finance, Fidelity, Robinhood, Vanguard. Get that money working for you guys. Index funds, dividend paying stocks, dividend aristocrats. Like there's no guarantees in this world, but there are some things that have a very phenomenal track record, and I have personally benefited from a lot of these types of investments. That's a winning strategy. The other thing I would do is I would totally be avoiding debt. Debt is like it's almost like a cancer. Like it literally can consume you and take you out. Debt should basically be your enemy, right? I don't use debt unless that debt is making me money. I'll give you a great example. Finance the house, and the interest rate on the house is under 3%. It's like 2 point something percent, right? On all, matter of fact, all of the real estate that I'm financing right now is all financed under 3% fixed rate interest for 30 years. And some people say, well, why don't you just pay your house off? Why don't you just be debt free? And while that is an option, I choose to remain in debt for a couple of reasons actually. Number one, I can maintain a higher degree of liquidity, and I have more options available to me by not locking down the cash into a one particular investment in the form of real estate in this conversation. Instead, I can use the bank's money to make me money. So if my interest rate's less than 3%, I have that money that could have been used to pay off that debt invested elsewhere in some fairly stable, in fact, in many cases, FDIC insured investments that are paying me 4% and higher. So it would actually be very foolish for me to pay off the debt because I'm being paid more money to borrow the debt than I'm being charged. So imagine, you can walk down the street, and for every person you pass, imagine there's 1 million people you're walking by. For every 1 million people you passed, you made a trade with them. You gave them $5, and for every $5, they gave you $6. Wouldn't you do that all day long? This is exactly what I'm doing right now by using the bank's money, by using Chase's money, by using Bank of America's money to basically make more money than I'm being charged in the form of this is basically like debt arbitrage. So anyway, otherwise, I don't want to have debt. Why do I want to pay interest? That doesn't make any sense, right? So unless the debt that I have is making me money, I'm avoiding debt at all costs, period, point blank. All right. I'm paying off the credit cards twice a month. I'm not carrying a balance on these credit cards. And drop me a comment down below if you happen to wonder why I'm paying my credit cards off twice a month. I'd love to see what kind of responses I get from you guys. But those of you guys with mountains of student loans, you probably figured this out. Having debt it's not a winning solution. It is not a winning solution. And if you happen to have student loan debt, I highly recommend getting out of that, paying it off as soon as possible. If you're behind on your debt payments, you may actually be able to negotiate there was a big fly that came in here. Oh my God, it was a dragonfly. Like a fly with like 2 pairs of wings. Huge fucker. Anyway, so debt can definitely hold you back from so many different financial opportunities. And if you have too much debt, you can't even get more credit. It would actually bring your credit score down. But my goal isn't to have a high credit score. Yeah, I do have a high credit score. It's close to 850, if not 850. But that's not an indicator of wealth. All a credit score is a measure of your relationships with debt and how well you've paid back money that you owed. Did you pay back money on time? Are you responsible with debt? Are you your credit score is nothing more than a meter that determines how high of a risk you are when someone else is considering lending you money. How likely is it that they'll get their money back? So if your credit score is an 850 and you're looking to borrow some money through a credit card, through getting a loan or something like that, they understand that the likelihood that they're going to get that money back is very, very high. And so in response to that high credit score, they'll give you a break. They'll give you a lower interest rate, but it's still debt. So you got to be careful with that. Money, any money that's going out toward interest payments is money that is literally that cannot be used to build wealth. You're making the bank rich. Save as much money as you can. Saving for the sake of saving is, in my opinion, is pretty much pointless. And this is why I don't really save money. Like, theoretically, I do save money, but in actuality, I'm investing money. So I save money so that it can be used for investments. So versus most people, a lot of people just spend every dollar that they have. So I save money for the purpose of investments. Yes, save as much money as you can. And I'm always looking to increase my income, because I want to make sure that I can live off of as small of a percentage of my total income as possible, so that I can increase the percentage of which I can invest out of my income. So, basically you want to create some financial goals. If you are saving, I would probably save for certain things like a house. I might save for a car. But I'm going to invest in my retirement. I'm going to invest in my financial freedom. But saving in general, beyond the emergency fund or beyond some short-term purchase, I'm not really saving. I'm more or less investing, right? So once you set your goals, you could save for your goals. But other than that, I'm probably looking to invest capital, right? And something that's really, really important is your career, because your career or your income, right? Find a job, find a business, find a way to make money, find an income source that you enjoy, because the more you enjoy it, chances are the more you're going to make. And I've met a lot of millionaires over the years, and one thing that I found is that most millionaires who are really, really winning at life, they have found a career or they've started a business that they thoroughly enjoy, and so making money becomes significantly easier. So you're not going to be able to realize your full earning potential unless you at least mildly enjoy what you're doing, because otherwise it's going to be very, very difficult to stick to your plan long term and actually excel at it, right? So find a way to make money, whether it's a career, starting a business, a home-based business, a side hustle that could turn into a long-term business that you enjoy. Plus, like, who wants to work their entire life doing something that they hate, right? That would make for a very miserable life. And I don't think that you're watching this video because you want to live a miserable life, right? So anyway, guys, I just want to share some of these tidbits with you guys. I hope you guys got some value out of it. If you made it this far in the video, please consider subscribing to the channel and drop a like for the video. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. And if you're interested in financial freedom, generating passive income, learning more about investing in the stock market, investing in real estate, creating side hustles, creating online businesses, be sure to subscribe to the channel, because that's what we're about. I know you guys got this, and I look forward to seeing y'all on the next one.